Perfect. So for the purpose of this interview, please tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Nataliey Bitature. I'm an entrepreneur from Uganda. I am also the chief of staff of the Simba Group of companies. So I have my own companies. One is Musana Carts, where we make solar-powered street food vending carts. We also provide training for the street food vendors in financial literacy, hygiene and sanitation, and customer service. Another company of mine is called Her, which is an online women's mentorship platform where we have a community and we have courses and lots of resources, videos and articles and guest speakers to help African women in their career development and personal development. In my role as chief of staff, Simba Group is my family business. It's over 25 years old and employs hundreds of people across different sectors like telecom, energy, hospitality, real estate, oil and gas. So as chief of staff, I kind of jump in and out of the different companies, problem solving, liaising, making sure everything's running smoothly.
Wow, you wear several hats and evidently you're able to do them so well. So how would you say you're actually able to do all of these things?
I had to learn early on in my career to be very organized, to prioritize, to set goals, and to be very intentional about my priorities and my work-life balance.
Right.
So every quarter, I will do like a big reflection and assessment, like what has gone well, what hasn't gone well, what have we achieved, what haven't we, and then what we want to do in the next quarter. So I do that with all the companies, but I also do it for myself in my mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Like, how am I doing as a person? Am I doing what I want? Am I growing in the areas that I want? And then I break that down into tasks and see how to balance that into my schedule every week so that I make sure I'm moving in the direction that I want.
Amazing. I definitely agree with the whole quarterly review thing. I personally do one for my life, and I feel like that's the only way I'm able to kind of oversee everything and make sure everything is moving as required. So what sort of skills and courses would you say have assisted and aided your professional development thus far?
I think problem solving is really helpful. It's having sort of a critical eye, but also being able to analyze like situations.
Right.
I think growing up in a family that was business oriented, like no is never an option, or you can't say give up, but this is it can't work. How can we make it work? How can we go around it? How can you be creative about this?
Right.
So I think that's been very helpful for me in my career, because whenever I see everyone sees a problem, I always just start seeing multiple solutions.
Amazing.
So that's something I've worked at, and that's been helpful. I think also collaboration, networking, like having good people skills has been really helpful. I had to really learn from my mentors about communications and emotional intelligence. And that's been really key to my career, especially being so young and being in like leadership positions and management positions. You have to really be able to learn to listen to people, to understand, to have empathy, to support people, to encourage your team, to know how to drive people and motivate them. And I think that's also been really important.
Amazing, amazing. So let's delve into Musana Carts. What actually made you start this social enterprise? I think you guys are doing amazing, amazing work and meeting a need, and obviously utilizing a system that already exists and just putting your own unique spin on it.
Musana actually started as an idea, like for a student competition. It was not supposed to be a real company.
Wow, really?
Yeah, we kind of just got carried away. It was a friend of mine who wanted to start this competition, and I was like, no, I want to have fun at school. I was doing my master's in San Francisco, and she just insisted. So I was like, okay, fine, let's just do it for fun. And, I'm sure it won't go anywhere. But we kept getting to the next round, to the next round. And a few months later, we were like doing it for real. We started hiring employees, and we'd fly up and down from America to Uganda. And once you like connect with the vendors and their stories and their challenges, and you understand what needs to happen, you can't just walk away. So we ended up like making it a real company, fundraising. Some people moved here. We've taken out, it's been a few years now, I think 3 or 4 years, maybe 5.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it kind of takes a life of its own, you know, you keep taking the feedback and iterating and improving. And so it's been a really interesting journey.
Sure. So what challenges would you say you faced in running this social enterprise? Granted, it started from a competition now to actually something that exists in Africa.
I think all businesses face similar challenges. In
Mm,
Africa, entrepreneurs are always complaining about capital. So fundraising is a challenge, but
mm,
I feel like it's more because when you rely on grants, you have to sort of stay in alignment with what they want. And sometimes that's not really practical on the ground. Sometimes you'll get feedback and need to change stuff or try something. And so that's why I believe in social businesses. I think
right.
it's more effective than a charity because you're kind of more flexible. Your money is your own, the money that you make from the company. So you can reinvest it how you see fit and keep changing things to what the market needs and what the current demands are. I think being in Africa, we have a lot of innovation challenges because materials are expensive. Uganda is a landlocked country. So every aspect of the Musana cart, we've imported those parts and we're just building
Wow.
them here. We don't manufacture most of the things here.
Mm,
So there's always like technological challenges, like finding the right fabricators, the right machinery to try
mm,
and evolve something. If we lived in another country, I'm sure we could have fiberglass carts or have
right.
molds for carts, so keep
Yeah.
changing them in different ways, or have carts that, you know, you can add and change different pieces depending on the day or the event. So
Mm,
I think we get limited a lot just by the lack of infrastructure and like technological support, but you
mm,
still have to try to make it work, watch a lot
yeah.
of YouTube videos, find someone who's like flexible and open-minded and is going to like give it a go. So I
Mhm.
think that's where we make up for it in attitude.
Amazing, amazing. And I think that's the key really, what you just said about attitude. You know, are you going to look at these challenges as challenges or an opportunity to pivot, to grow, and to find sustainable solutions, which you evidently have. So I think we should just do more of like a deep dive into you. So obviously you're an amazing businesswoman. You have such a positive ethos when it comes to the sustainability and the development of the continent. And as a professional, have amassed a great wealth of accolades. So how would you encourage entrepreneurs, professionals, and creatives that may be watching to remain proactive in their own personal development?
Oh, this is a big one because I think it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Africa has such a huge young population, which is an
Right.
amazing thing,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't squander it. And
Right.
unfortunately, the unemployment rates and the disgruntlement and the inequality is really holding us back as a population. I
Mm,
think young people need to keep a positive attitude and also take responsibility. The truth is, our
mm,
situation is so dire. There's no government that's going to wave a magic wand and fix all these problems. It's
wow.
going to be us. We have to figure out these solutions ourselves. Our parents' generations all had their own challenges.
Mhm.
African countries, most of us, our parents lived through a war or some sort of coup or change of government. So they've done their part for stability. And
Right.
now to actually innovate and grow, it's going to be up to the younger generation. I
Mhm.
think we need to be grateful about the current climate we live in, where we have the internet, we have globalization. You can learn from different countries, you can speak to different people.
Mhm.
There's so many resources online. You can learn anything just with a bit of data in your phone.
Right.
And I think we have to make the most of that kind of opportunity, but we have to take initiative and be proactive because we have to come up with the solutions ourselves.
That's very, very powerful. I think we are obviously one of the youngest populations across the world, if I'm not mistaken. And this is really the time for us to harness our resources. And I think to effectively collaborate with each other, whether it be inside our sort of home nations or across regions and the continent as a whole, to ensure that we are creating vehicles for change. So you recently launched your online community, Her, which I think is honestly incredible and sort of empowering women. So what made you start it? What was your aim? And as a woman, how important would you say community is for you?
Um, I started Her, I think 3 years ago now,
Okay.
because of working in the private sector and getting awards or doing stuff publicly. I started getting a lot of requests on Facebook. Women would send me messages and be like, I've seen what you've done. Can you give me advice on this? Or I've started a business. What do you think about this? Or how did you do
Right.
this? Or how did you do that? So I started a WhatsApp group where I was like, okay, all of you who keep asking me questions, instead of me repeating myself, let's
Mhm.
all have like a discussion and like a forum where we can like discuss these issues because women go through so many different challenges compared to men, especially in like African situation. I realized learning from my dad, who's a business person, he was my mentor. But then at a certain age, I realized his life experience is so different from mine because there's so many things I have to deal with that he doesn't, and he can't advise me on. So I had to start getting female mentors. So I realized the importance of that, and I wanted to be able to pay that forward. And so the WhatsApp group grew to the maximum, and then we had 2 WhatsApp groups, and it became too crazy for me to manage. So when COVID happened, we moved to a Facebook group, and that's what it is now, because there's no limit. We did have some live events before Facebook, but now we do everything on Facebook before COVID, sorry. So now we do like lives on Facebook, we do articles, or I'll make videos about specific topics. We'll discuss stuff. The women will like share their own businesses or their own questions or give each other advice. So I think community is huge for everyone. Like human beings need other people, and it's so much easier to learn from each other. It's great to have mentors who can teach you and tell you, or ask someone who's already done something, but it's also useful to have peers who you can like go through stuff together with. And then you can also teach others who are behind you. So I think it's good to have a system like that where we're all learning and sharing from each other. And I feel like that's been a really effective, like one-stop shop where young people can find, the young women specifically can find information that they want, whether it's watching videos of me explaining a concept in business or how to get ahead in your career, or it's you selling what you're trying to push in your business on the group. I think it's a really helpful concept. And I'm a part of so many other communities, like my school's alumni groups, or different products or courses or other Facebook groups, and I see the value. So that's what I'm trying to recreate for African women.
Amazing. I think you're definitely right that there is value in relationships, there is value in community. And one thing that I really like that you just mentioned is actually peer-to-peer mentoring. Sometimes we only think about sort of mentoring vertically, you know, oh, this person is 20 years ahead of me in their career and in their business. I can learn key lessons from them, yes, but there is also power in the vulnerability, being in a community where we can all share our, you know, wins, our triumphs, but then also our struggles and our challenges. So obviously moving on to challenges, it goes without saying that navigating business as a woman, I think anywhere in the world, is quite challenging. What challenges would you say that you feel African women face, and what advice would you give viewers that may be in that space to overcome said challenges? And ideally something aside from the funding issue, which we obviously know is a common thing across the continent.
African women have the biggest challenge of culture. I feel like that is such a big roadblock for us. Women all over the world are struggling to have equal rights. We're feminists, we're fighting the patriarchy. That is a given. Women have a challenge of time because we're homemakers and caregivers, and all the expectations of family obligations fall on women. But African women specifically also have the added problem of culture, because at least in other countries, they understand now that women can do everything that men can do, and it's acceptable. It's taking them time to put policies in place, change the laws, get the workplaces up to 50-50, but the mentality has changed. No one is shocked now to see women in the workplace or to see women doing jobs that men used to do. But in Africa, we still have the problem where there's resistance. There's still a huge cultural problem where men and women think it's wrong for women to be working, to be earning income, to be making decisions, to have freedom, to have agency in their own lives. And that is what bugs me the most. I think that's what we have to fight, because you can't just fight it on your own as women. We can't just stand there and complain. We just get called angry feminists. We need allies on the other side. You need men to support you. You need our mothers to support us. We need other women in the workplace. And the women who worked ahead of us have suffered so much. So sometimes by the time they get there, they're so bitter and they're so disgruntled because they had to go through so much to get there. They're not even willing to help us to open those doors faster. And so you need the ones who are clearing the path for us and who are encouraging women and pushing us through and nominating us for things and giving us opportunities. You need men who will speak up for women, who will call out other men for sexual harassment, who will put policies in place, who will give women a chance, who will encourage their daughters to do better in school, to like go for all their dreams. And unfortunately, that's not happening at the rate that we need it to happen. There's so many women in Africa. We have the highest population of mothers. We have one of the youngest populations of mothers. And once women start having children, by the time they're 20, that really makes a huge difference in their lives. it drastically affects their income, their ability to learn, their ability to continue their education, the position they're going to have. But because of our culture and the religion, we're encouraging young women to just get married and have kids.
Right.
And that's what you're supposed to do. So even women who are educated or women who want to do other things are not supported in their own homes, in their own families. And so it's so hard to break through that. And I think that's another area where community comes in handy, because when you see another woman doing something, it's easier to tell your family, but she did it and she's okay, but she did it and her kids are fine. Her husband has accepted it. She's doing these things and nothing has happened to her. So we need to showcase women as role models, and we need to encourage each other, because we still have that huge barrier ahead.
That's so real. But I think just on that about sort of women being more visible, there is often the argument pertaining to imposter syndrome. Sometimes some women do genuinely feel a little bit sort of shy about their accomplishments. I mean, women like yourselves having sort of amassed accolades on an international level. Obviously, you are an amazing role model for so many women across the continent and in the diaspora, in case you didn't know already. But how would you encourage women that are in similar positions, that maybe have amassed accolades in different aspects of their lives, to be more confident in their wins and to celebrate their achievements more publicly, more loudly, and to inspire the next generation of women?
It's exactly what you say. It's to inspire. So you have to not think about yourself and your own imposter syndrome, but think of who you're serving. The
Yeah.
first time I got asked to do an interview for a magazine, I was like, no, thank you. But then the way they convinced me was, it's not about you. I want to write this article because other girls are going to see this and they will be inspired to get up and to do something and to change their own lives. So don't even think about yourself. And I've kept that with me over the last 10 years, because every time I see myself, I'm a woman too. I have my own struggles, my own self-esteem and imposter syndrome. And I'll see a picture and be like, oh no, I look like this, or oh, that's such a bad this, or why? It's not about me, and I have to remove myself from that situation. It's in service of other women. If I can make sure that for every Facebook post or for every article or award I win, some African girl somewhere is like, oh wow, she could do that, that means I can do it too. It's totally worth it. I will endure my own shame or insecurities to make sure that someone else also gets up and does these things. Because imagine a world where all the African women are contributing. We're economically contributing, our thoughts, our creativity, our ideas. Like, we could change so much. So I feel like it's totally worth it to put ourselves aside and think about the service of others that you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just before we kind of move on to discussing Africa and the future of the continent, with regards to mentorship, how have you gone about securing mentors? Obviously, you mentioned your father is an esteemed businessman, and you obviously gained a lot of mentorship from him, I guess up until a certain age, and obviously continued into your business career. But how have you gone amassing other mentors?
I feel with mentors, it's a very delicate thing to find. You need to find someone who is in your field and who has the experience you need, but also someone who is going to invest in you, who is going to make time for you. So the easiest way is the way you build rapport with them. You can always tell with someone whose energy you just click and who is happy to spend time around you. Sometimes the most qualified person and you just don't have that vibe. So it's really hard when you're asking them for advice or to go for coffee. They're like, yeah, I'm kind of busy. Okay. But when you find the right kind of person, you have to sort of strike when the opportunity is hot. So I'm always encouraging young women to be networking. Always be networking, whether you're at work or at a wedding or at an event, you need to be meeting people. And like, you never know when someone is going to open a door for you or be helpful to you or you to them. So genuinely be networking all the time. And every now and then you'll meet someone who is like, wow, like she's doing these amazing things. She gave me that great advice, just like for free on the side of the road when I bumped into her. And you keep in touch with her. And she'll also remember you. And so when you reach out and ask them for help or advice, or can we go for coffee, or can I help you with this? One of my friends goes for walks with her mentor every Sunday morning. I'm like,
wow.
what? Yeah, it's like, that's the time she has. She's like, I do my exercise on Sunday mornings. If you want to come with me, I'll talk to you. And it helps her so much. So you have to sort of be flexible and see how to meet them where they're at, how to be not a burden in their lives, but someone who is helpful and young and sort of energetic, because mentors also love that. They love to pass
Yeah.
on the information and the learning and listen to you as well. So just keep like a good relationship with them and watch the energy and make sure that you're also reciprocating and you show up on time and you say thank you and, get them flowers or cookies or something every now and then, to show your gratitude that you appreciate the time and energy they're investing in you.
Absolutely. I think that's really great advice for myself and also for anyone out there that's watching and listening, to actually look for mentors, people that can invest in you, but also vice versa, because there is such a thing as reverse mentoring, as you did say. So I guess now moving on to the future of Africa. So over the years, you've sort of seen the diaspora engagement and reconnecting with the continent increasing. I think 2 years ago, just before COVID, we saw an influx of African Americans sort of returning to the continent to kind of find their roots and to reconnect with Africa, which was incredible to see and incredible to experience, sort of being on the ground. So as someone that sort of traveled and frequented out of Africa, as you mentioned, what advice would you give to diasporans that maybe are existing outside of Africa that are looking back to return to either Uganda or to Africa as a whole?
Come back. They need
Period.
you. They need you more than they need you. I think I understand the challenge. Like when I first moved back, I had been living away for like 12 years.
Oh,
So I don't
wow.
visit my parents like at holidays, but I was used to living abroad. So the first time I moved back, it was really hard. Like I missed certain things like grocery stores and the variety you have, or like the kind of skin cream you need and you can't find it here. Like small things would bug you. But what really helped me was community, because at the same time, a lot of my friends had also moved back. Like it was just a really great coincidence. We all were kind of in it together. So we'd all like complain and like whine about living with our parents and like the stresses of being back home and the dust and the traffic. But at the same time, we were all learning and growing and like growing our network and learning how to do business here and how to like be better in our jobs and what's different about the systems and the challenges and the opportunities. And the truth is that opportunities in Africa are insane.
Wow.
Whichever sector you work in, whichever field, wherever your dream is or your business idea, it can work. I tell you why. The population is just growing so fast. It's impossible to meet the demand. Any sector you want to work in, I assure you, you will never run out of customers, because Africans are having babies faster than you can serve all those customers. So what sector you go into, you are going to have an advantage because the market is growing. The economies are growing. And when you come from abroad, I know it's mean to say, but your work ethic is in a whole other league. Africans move at a much slower pace generally. It is in our culture. We're just much calmer and easier going. I think it's a lack of winter. There's no like urgency. So once you've lived abroad and you're used to working at that pace, when you come here, it's amazing how much you can get done because everyone else is moving slower than you. So it's much easier to integrate. If you take aside like the personal whining bits, pack your skin creams, do what you need to do. These days you can have everything shipped here as well. Thank you, COVID. So it's not that hard to transition. You have a huge network and a huge community at home. You'll always have your family or your aunties and uncles or someone who's ready to help you or to listen to you or to hang out with you. It's so much easier to schedule stuff like that. So I think it's really scary, and I can understand, especially if you've lived abroad for a long time and you have investments there and like your network and your job. It's a big leap to take, but it definitely is worth it. When you look at the difference in your life a year later, you will have more free time, a better social life, and yet you will still be making money and feeling the impact and seeing how much you're doing for your community. So I think it's definitely a leap worth taking.
I love that. So the message to everyone watching and listening is to come back. And even me myself, because of the cold today, I was looking for my for my ticket to return back. So before we sort of wrap up, just on that, what excites you the most about the continent?
I think it's the young people. Like there's just so much energy. And it's not that other countries don't have young people, but when you're older, you're more cynical. You've seen so much. And I think that is so true for countries. So with young people here, we're still like naive and excited about the world. And so young people have so many ideas. They have so much energy. When I go for like pitch competitions, I'm just like, wow, they're thinking up of all these cool things. And because Africa is slightly behind in like infrastructure and modernization, but yet our young people are exposed to it because they have the internet, they think of things that just leapfrog. Like traditional roots of modernization. So there's so much potential with the populations growing and the economies growing and all these new ideas just bubbling up. It's so crazy how fast things are changing. I think 2 years ago, Africa had its first unicorn, like $1 billion company.
Right.
Now there's 7 in 1 year. Like it happens so fast because the market is there, the ideas are there. It's just about getting execution and getting things moving. And now funding is also like increasing and flowing faster and easier through Africa. So I think the opportunities are so great. We just need the right kind of support. The mentorship, the skills training, the attitude, changing the cultures, just shifting things a bit forward into a more modern way of thinking makes a huge difference. But it's really a great time for Africa. We have so much potential. And we have not been hit by COVID like the rest of the world.
Right.
Like anyone expected. So there is still so much more opportunity here. Things are more open, things are safer. It's still a really great time, even though it's hard to travel maybe. But once you're here, everything works and everything is moving. And that's why I think there's so much opportunity. And honestly, I can't wait to see where all of this is going.
Likewise, I definitely agree with those sentiments. I'm very excited for the future of Africa. So I could pick your brain forever. Honestly, you have like so much that I'd love to delve into, but to not take up too much of your time, just to wrap up, what can we expect from you next? What should we keep an eye out for with your communities, with your businesses, with your ventures? What is next on the horizon for you?
I really want to keep growing this online mentorship for women. I think moving online showed me how much more capacity I can take on because it's so much more efficient to speak to so many more people, and I can handle different one-on-ones easier once women have gone through the courses or have watched some of the videos and have specific questions. So I'm really going to focus more of my time and energy on this space and how to support women in their career development, in their personal development, in their journey as entrepreneurs. And I recently got certified in coaching because I found that that is such a useful skill to be able to encourage and support people, to teach them how they can have their own tools within themselves to achieve what they're doing. So that's something I want to keep growing and to make sure that we as women also keep passing it forward and coaching other women and growing the network so that as women in Africa, we are now also a contender, you know, a group to be reckoned with and something that, you know, we need to have a seat at the table. So we're also making policies and driving the agenda and making decisions for our own welfare and our own well-being. That's what I'm excited about.
Amazing. So I'll be sure to put all the links to everything, all the amazing work that you're doing in our description box and in our show notes below. But do you have any final words for viewers that are watching? We kind of have an audience of professionals and entrepreneurs and creatives that are in the sort of Gen Z, not Gen Z, millennial kind of Gen Z category.
That's a really great mix of people. And I think that's where the energy is. Whether you're in Africa or you're African abroad, I think the energy is the same. You still have the same perspective and understanding and hope for the future. So I really encourage everyone to get out there and do something. Unfortunately, it's easy to get really stuck and comfortable working for a big corporation. But how much impact are you actually having on your life, on your community, when you're a cog in a machine, essentially? I understand the appeal and you learn so much so fast, but be sure to use those skills, maybe not in quitting your job and moving home, but mentor someone, put your ideas out there, have a business on the side, get your own energy and creative juices flowing and leave your piece in the world because we need it.
Amazing, amazing. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you and thank you for joining us on the In Touch Africa platform.
Thank you.